Hello, and thank you to everyone for making time in your evening to join us. I'm Nicole Ditto, local sponsorship manager of the Scripps National Spelling Bee program. Tonight, I am joined by my colleague, Tyler Hyde, who will soon begin a tutorial of our new online testing platform. Before doing so, I'd like to reiterate what an honor it is to talk to you after getting to connect with your regional sponsors on a regular basis. I've spent the last decade with the Bee supporting relationship with organizations across the country and around the world who have joined together in the shared mission of delivering the Scripps National Spelling Bee experience to so many students and communities. Our work would not be possible without the effort and commitment of hundreds of local Bee sponsors and the thousands of Bee coordinators like yourself at every level, serving as an important extension of the Bee program. We have all been on quite the journey lately, and a year where life has looked very different and so many have experienced unforeseen challenges. It is truly inspiring to partner with educators, district and county coordinators, and local sponsoring organizations on an opportunity that delivers joy. You play an essential role in this program, and we are incredibly thankful that you said yes to supporting the special tradition of the Bee program in your community. This year, we've discovered new and creative ways to navigate the program, and we understand the time and patience required to learn these new ways. As spellers advance from school level Bs to the district and county competitions and on to a national event this summer, we would like to express our sincere gratitude as you navigate this process, despite the difficult circumstances. You're providing an important recognition opportunity, especially at a time when there may be fewer chances to celebrate student achievement. As you continue to work on your local Bee program, we want to remind you that we're here to help you do that. Tyler and I have the pleasure on a daily basis of working with a wonderful team here at the Scripps National Spelling Bee organization. To name just some of those behind the scenes roles, we have a wonderful group of IT developers, a rockstar customer service team quickly responding to the hundreds of questions that are submitted each day, our creative communications colleagues, and a team of people that serve as the brains behind the word and content you receive each year. Not to mention the support extended to us through the leadership of the EW Scripps Company. It takes the dedication of our team in collaboration with you and those in your community who pull together to make the Bee the special program that it is. At the end of this webinar, we will dedicate time to answering questions. You are welcome to submit questions throughout this session by clicking the Q&A link at the bottom of your screen. Because our time is limited this evening, our focus at the end of the presentation will be to answer questions that are generally beneficial to the broader group. If you'd like assistance with something that is more specific to your local program, we'd be happy to follow up with you. This evening, we're here to talk about a new way for conducting your competition. There are three main options for your district or county level spelling bees: in-person, virtual, or use of the new online testing platform. We are here to focus on the online testing platform, so let's get started. Tyler, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Nicole. Let's see, there I am. All right. Thanks, Nicole, and thank all of you, our district and county coordinators, for joining us this evening. We are so excited to share our new online testing platform with you. Our team has put a lot of heart and soul into it, and we are proud to provide a resource that will allow you to administer the spelling bee in your area, no matter the circumstances in your area. So let's get started. I believe you all should be able to see my screen. We are going to begin actually with a tool called School Champion Registration. So it's a tool that's been available for years, but it might not have been used in your local program. However, this year it's a requirement for programs that want to use the online testing platform at any level. So basically the School Champion Registration form will talk to the online testing platform, and it will automatically add the school champions in your area to your local program's online testing platform. We've already walked through with your sponsors how to be sure School Champion Registration is set up for your local area. But what I want to show you to give you a little more context is what it looks like from the school side. So this is the teacher portal. This is the homepage of the teacher portal. It is what school bee coordinators see when they log in at spellingbee.com after they've enrolled their schools. Some of you may be familiar with the teacher portal, which is great. Once your sponsor has given schools access to the school champion registration form, they will see this button right here on the left menu, school champion registration, and they will be able to fill in a school champion registration form for their school champion. You'll see here, it'll say your sponsor allows, and then a number of students. 6 is probably more than is normal. I'm using this as a test account. You might have 1 or 2, and then maybe alternates as well. So I'm just going to show you this form really quickly. We are going to go through and fill this out. I will say, well, actually, I won't say while I'm filling this out because I have a feeling I will mess something up, but I will say in just a second that there is a way there are 2 different ways for the online testing platform to recognize your school spelling bee champions. So I am going to do this really fast. Okay, so the 2 different ways that they do that is that if your school champion, and you can see right here at the top, we have this note here because it's very important. So we know that some of your schools have already taken part in using the online testing platform, which is great. And so in order to make sure that that their school champion that already has an online testing platform account will be found in the online testing platform and connected to your sponsor program, you're going to want to make sure to encourage your schools that they need to be sure that the first name, last name, grade level, and that parent guardian email address, the first slot, exactly match their existing online testing platform account. That'll just make everybody's lives easier, and it will automatically sync the school champion and put them in the local sponsor's online testing platform so that you can then add them to online tests. The other way, so there is another way, obviously not every school is using our online testing platform. And so the other way that this works is that if the school has not used the online testing platform, the online testing platform will automatically create accounts for any school champions that they don't find already in the system. And then they will email that student's parent and have them verify the account. So there are 2 different ways, and it doesn't matter if the school has already used the online testing platform or not. We have created it so that if they have not, it will automatically create an account for them. We do that because we recognize that all spellers will be using the online testing platform at all levels. And so we will only send an email to parents of school champions that it does not recognize once someone from that sponsor program, whether that's yourself or the sponsor contact, goes in, creates an online testing platform account, and sets up a test and adds spellers, which we will go into right now. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this champion profile form. So now you'll see that I've used all of my champion registrations. So now we are going to jump into the online testing platform, beginning with how you create an account. Let me see where my other, okay. So for you, the online testing platform as a district or county coordinator, it begins with an email. We have provided sponsors with the ability to delegate creation of tests and administration of tests. And they do that through the online testing platform by sending an email. So this is an example. I sent this to myself this morning or yesterday, maybe. There we go, yesterday. And basically, this email that you receive from the online testing platform will include 3 things. It will include instructions right here for how to register for an account in the online testing platform. It will include a video tutorial for you. So this webinar recording will be available. We'll send it to you via email, but you also have some tutorials available at spellingbee.com and on our YouTube page. So it just goes ahead and includes one of those. And then it also, very importantly, includes some of the details about the test that your sponsor wants you to create. So let me just reiterate this link right here, which is it's different for every person. So this link right here that you receive in this delegation email is the only way for a district or county coordinator to register for an account in the online testing platform. And I will show you why. So if I click on this link right here, it's going to bring up a form, and you'll see that it automatically has recognized that I am a part of this sponsor program. So it automatically shows me the Leading Daily, which is our test sponsor account, the city and state. So you're going to want to use that email link to be sure that you're being matched with the correct sponsor account. For instance, if you just went to online-test.spellingbee.com and clicked register, that would register you for a parent account, and that would not allow you any of the capabilities that I'm about to show you. So it's very important that you wait for your sponsor to give you that account. Okay, so I'm going to hit this register button, and it says, thanks for signing up. And now I am going to log in. So I'm going to use a slightly different account than I just set up because I've set up a test account for myself. And I'm going to put in my email and password and click the submit button. Okay, and then you're going to see this screen. It says, we sent a verification code to your email. Please enter the code to sign in. So for security purposes, we have set up two-factor authentication as part of the online testing platform. We, of course, don't want anything to happen to any of the student data that is included in the platform. So in order to log in, you just receive automatically an email that will include a verification code. The verification code is valid for 5 minutes. So if for some reason you step away or you forget to log in, that's completely fine. Just try to log in again. It'll send you a new code. And you don't have to save these. It'll be different for you every time. So don't worry about saving those. Okay, so now we are in the online testing platform. This is what it looks like from the district or county coordinator level. It's very similar to what it looks like for the sponsor level as well. You will see this main screen is our test list. I am going to show you first the communications that we have for you. So if you go over here to this left side, you'll see a couple different menu items. You probably won't need to worry about delegatees. This is where your sponsor will be able to see a list of your name and anyone else that they have delegated tasks to. So we're going to go here to templates. So this is an example of all of the different communication templates that we have provided to help you better communicate with your parents and your teachers about the online testing platform. They're broken up here based on what type of test you're doing. So you have the district level, then on to the county level, and then you likely won't need to use any of the final local B level, but that's there as well. Basically what you do is they each have a little description. So you just click on whichever one you need. And you'll see that this includes bracketed text. So you can see that what you'll need to do is click this copy to clipboard link, and it will copy all of that. And then you can put it into a Word document or an email and just fill in the different pieces of bracketed text based on your district or county details. I also want to show you really quickly that we do have a couple emails that are going to be sent automatically from the online testing platform. And those include an email to both the parent and the school spelling bee coordinator when you assign a test to a student. There's an email that's sent to the parent when a test window opens. There's an email sent to the school spelling bee coordinator 3 days before a test window closes. And that is in case the parent hasn't seen the emails, isn't receiving the emails, to be sure that the teacher will then nudge the parent that their student does have a test available to them. And then we also have one that goes out to the parent one day before a test window closes for a district or a county level test. So those are the emails that are automatically sent from the system. Let me get out of this really quickly and back here. Okay. Now, like I said, this list right here is going to show you all of the tests that you've already created. So if you haven't created any tests yet, there won't be any data here. It also gives you a link to the sample tests that your students can take. Excuse me. And let's go ahead and create a test. So we are going to go here to this create a test button. And then you'll see this that says, would you like to create the test or assign it to someone else? And what you're going to do is say, I'll do it. Okay, so here we go. We have a lot of different things to cover here. And like I said, the recording of this webinar will be available. We have tutorials available to you. So, you know, this is, you're all good. Everybody take a deep breath. So here we go. So here at the top, I just want to point out that this says use the recommended settings. This is a carryover from our school testing platform. So this is more for the classroom or school level. What we suggest that you do is use the email that you receive from your sponsor, that the one that way back at the beginning of the webinar, we talked about that it included the link that you can register with. They will have included instructions, and that's what you should use to create your district or county level test. So I'm going to go ahead and click this little button right here. It just says timed test. And what that did was it opened up a little box right down here for me, and we will get to that in just a moment. So we're going to start with the title. I'm going to go ahead and call this the Very Creative Example District Level Test. And then, and just, you see that this was a required field. So all of the boxes in red are required. And then once you're finished with it, it stops being red. So description is not required, but it can be a nice way to give more context to your parents and your teachers. So we are going to go ahead and call this, this test will be used to determine which student moves on to the county level test. So just something like that. Your parents will be able to see the test and the test description, as well as other parts of this, but that can be a nice way to sort of give more context. I do also just want to say that the online testing platform has been designed in a way that makes it very turnkey. We want you to be able to set this up and add your spellers and then forget about it until you need to get your results. So that means that all of the spelling words, the vocabulary questions, all of the audio pronunciations, which are done by our official pronouncer, Dr. Jacques Bailey, which is very exciting. It's all contained within the online testing platform. There's no need for you to choose words or enter any word information or do anything like that. You make these selections and then the online testing platform gives you a test based on those selections. So moving right along. Let's see. So next is spelling question type. So there are two different types. You can do a multiple choice test, or where you your students will actually type in the word. Obviously for vocabulary words, everything will be multiple choice, but we do give you the option with spelling to type in the word. So I'm going to choose that one. It's really just your preference, or if your sponsor has some way that they want it done, they'll include that in the instructions of your online testing platform email. Okay. So now we're going to say type of test. I do want to point out that you'll have sponsor available to you, and that is all. So I clicked on sponsor and now it's going to give me some specific test levels, but we did have some really great questions come in before this webinar. So thank you to those of you who submitted them. I've tried to include those throughout the webinar tonight. And that question was just about asking if district and county coordinators or sponsors would be able to also set up school level tests, and that is not available. So as a district or county coordinator, your online testing platform is synced with your sponsor account. So you will not be able to create school level tests. Only teachers who are linked to enrolled schools will be able to create school level tests. Okay, so I clicked on sponsor, and then that gave me 3 different test levels. Now, based on the title of this webinar, it's likely that you will only be needing to worry about district and county level, and that the final local B level will likely be for your sponsors. So I'm going to go ahead and say district level, and then it comes up with this really, really helpful text so that you can get a sense of how you want to set up your test. So for the district level, well, actually for all the levels, you can have up to 50 words. So up to 50 words in increments of 5. For the district level, that includes 25 spelling words and 25 vocabulary words. If you were to choose a county level test, you could do all spelling, all vocabulary, or some mixture. And that's the same for the final local B test. Since we're doing a district level test, I'm going to go ahead and set this up. And I am going to use 25 spelling and 25 vocabulary words. I just want to say that we do encourage you to use vocabulary words. Not only is it an important part of our program, we've used vocabulary at the national level since 2012. And I know that many of your sponsors include some kind of written vocabulary test typically as part of their program. We also encourage it for online tests because it's a great way to differentiate your scores, which will likely keep you from having to do any kind of tiebreaker. So we do recommend vocabulary. And let's see. And then we have the maximum number of students advancing to the next level. That is something that your sponsor will specify in that email that you receive when they delegate test creation to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and say 1. I do want to point out this button or this box right here, which is already checked for me. This is include words not on study list. And what that means is that we have what we like to call unstudied words. They're basically words that do not appear on any of our study materials for the year. And we definitely do recommend that you use unstudied words. Once again, not only will it help you likely from needing to do any kind of tiebreaker, but also because it's more authentic to the spelling bee experience. If you've used our district pronouncer guide previously, you know that the words at the beginning of the district pronouncer guide are found in the study lists. And then as you get further into it, you get to the words that are unstudied. And they require students to kind of take all of the knowledge that they've learned through studying and apply it on the fly. So that's very authentic to the spelling bee experience to include words that were not found on study lists. I will just say that for a district level test, the reason that that I can't uncheck it is because at a district level test, in order to do 25 spelling and 25 vocabulary, it adds 5 unstudied spelling and 5 unstudied vocabulary words just automatically. If you were to do a county level test, it would take, if you clicked the include words not on study list, it would take the number of spelling words and the number of vocabulary words and add half of those as being unstudied and not found on study lists. So there's that. You'll see that it automatically totaled my words for me, which is great for any of you who, like me, are more of a word person than a math person. And now we are going to move on to start date and end date. So this is your test window. This is the time that will be available for your students to take their test. We recommend giving at least a Monday through Friday window to allow all students the opportunity to take the test. But you're welcome to make it an entire, full week or 2 weeks. It's really just whatever works for your program. And I will point out that once again, going back to that email that your sponsor sent to you, it will include the date by which they need to know who your champion is. So obviously you're going to want that end date to go before your sponsor needs to know who's moving on from your program. So I'm going to go ahead and say the 25th through the 29th. And all right, so now we are down here to this little box that popped up when I clicked this timed test button. You'll see that if I don't click timed test, it goes away. So this is duration in minutes. This is the time limit for the test. This is an option, and it's an opportunity for you to set a time limit for your test. And what that means is while the start date and end date does the test window, meaning just whenever, whichever day your student wants to log on and take the test, this time limit means that, for instance, if you are giving a 50-word test, we recommend doing about 30 minutes. And that is the time in which once your student starts taking the test, they'll have 30 minutes to get to the end of the test. So there's that. And then we do recommend that you do some kind of time limit. It is part of our 3-pronged approach for test integrity. And let me pull this over and tell you the other bits of that approach. So the first is the time limit, like I was saying, giving students enough time to take the test, but not enough time to let their eyes wander or ask for help from anyone or anything like that. We also require that students acknowledge an integrity pledge, before they take their test. So that's something that they have to check, saying that, yes, they will abide by the integrity pledge. And then we also recommend that you have some kind of test monitor or test proctor be in the room when a student takes a test. That can be a teacher, it can be a parent. We have seen some schools and sponsors have success using teleconferencing software to monitor. So the same way that we're on Zoom and you can see me, it would work that way. So before a student logs into their test, they would get on Zoom with you, with a teacher, that kind of thing, just so that the teacher could watch them while they take the test. That's another way if it's not possible to have someone physically in the room with them. Speaking of integrity, just so you know, we have disabled spell check for the online testing platform and done other things, security measures in the browser. So for instance, if you decide to type in the word spelling, spell check won't pop up and say, that's wrong. So that's just a little, that should hopefully be obvious, but just so you know that it's there. Okay, and the very last thing, we have this button, which says show score upon test submission. Basically what this means is that if you click the button and your student finishes the test, they will see that they made a 31 out of 50 or a 25 out of 40. They will not be able to see the specific questions or words and whether they got them right or wrong. They'll just get the score. However, once your test window closes, their parent will be able to log back into their account and download a score report. Okay. And that's just another test integrity piece so that the words aren't available for students to see or share until all students have had the opportunity to take the test. So that looks like everything. I am going to say create test. Actually, I should name this, we'll call this webinar to differentiate it from the other creatively named example district tests that I've created. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to go through a couple different things that you can do once you've created a test here in the test list. So the first thing that you can do, this first button here says edit spellers. This is what you can do to add spellers to your tests. So you'll see that I have no spellers added to this test yet. We literally just created it, but you can hit this button here that says add speller. And it will, and I only have one in here right now, but it will show you all of the different spellers that are available for you to assign to a test. So those are all of the school champions that have been registered through the online testing platform. And so you can't see it now because I only have one here, but you can, for instance, search by name, sort alphabetically by name. You can also search by last name. You can do the same thing, searching by grade level, by school. We know that some of you, obviously county coordinators, you'll have different counties that you'll be sorting through data-wise. So we've done that. And then what you can do is just check the box right there and click add. And there we go. And it will add the speller to your test. You'll see here that it says status incomplete. That is because the student has not taken the test yet. Once again, we just created it. And also the test window doesn't even open until the 25th. So that makes sense. You can also see this button right here, which is another automatic email that you can send. So for instance, if you're in the middle of a test, or in the middle of a test window and you notice that most students have taken the test, but one or two haven't, you can hit this remind button right here and the system will automatically send an email saying, hey, don't forget your test ends in however many days. If you accidentally added this student, you can remove them. I would suggest if you do find that you have a student that is not supposed to be in your test, that you do remove them because a student can only be assigned to one test at a time. So for instance, if you accidentally add someone from a county over from you, that county coordinator won't be able to add that student. So do be sure that you have added only the students that you were meant to. And then you can also see, I can click this button, which is a check mark next to the email. And that will let me either copy the selected email addresses. And then if I want to just download the entire list, which right now is just one person, but we know that many of you deal with very large counties or districts. So you can actually export all of this data to a CSV as well. Okay, let's see. What else do I want to make sure I show you? Okay, so test details here, you can click this view button and it will show you all of the words that will be on your test and whether they are spelling or vocabulary. Now this is completely for your reference. Like I said before, the online testing platform is very turnkey. Everything has been put together for you. You don't have to do anything with these words, but it's just for your reference, so you'll know. Okay. And then two more things. So or technically three more. So you can say delete here, which will delete the test. So if, for instance, you just accidentally create an extra test, I don't know, you can delete it so it won't take up space here on your list. You can also hit the update button and that will take you right back to the test creation page. So if you decide, oh, you know what, I actually only want 20 vocabulary words, then you just say update test and it will update that in your test list. You'll see that instead of update, I have an extend test button here. What that is you can see right here in the date range that this test has already begun. And because it has already begun, we don't want to change the number of vocabulary words or decide it's a county test instead of a district level test because it's very likely that people have already begun to take the test. So you can instead, if you decide that you would like to extend the test window, you can do that and you can just go in here and, I'll say, okay, you now have until Sunday night to take that test. And then if I extend it, it'll now show me the test ending on Sunday. So now we are going to go into, we had someone ask a question ahead of time and it says, will we get a ranking of winners? We want to give our first, second, and third place winners a trophy, which first of all is fantastic. We love that you're, one of the best things that we love about this spelling bee is the opportunity for recognition for students. So really love that this coordinator is planning to give first, second, and third prizes. So I will show you how you can get your test results. If I can remember which test it is, let's see. I believe it's this one. We'll see. So if I go to edit spellers, fingers crossed. Yes. Okay. So this is some dummy test data that I've put in here. But you can see that 3 people have completed their test. 1 person has not yet. So if I wanted to, I could hit the remind button and it would automatically send them an email saying, hey, don't forget that you have a test to take. So what we're going to do is you can see right here with the score that obviously this person, Spencer Crawford, has received the highest score. And what I have already done is I went right here and I checked the advanced student to the next level. So that is the way that you tell your sponsor, you know, hey, this person is the winner from my county and I checked this box, and then it lets your sponsor know, okay, this person is moving along for the next online test. I will say that some of you may have, you know, I 20, 50, however many students. So we do give you the opportunity to say export to CSV, and I will see, okay, and then that's going to pop up right here. So I'm going to download this really quickly just so you can see it. Or I think I am, if I hit that correctly. Perhaps. No, okay. Well, maybe it's, oh, okay, there we go. So you'll see right here that it gives you first name, last name, test name, and score. So if you have a lot of students that are taking this test, you can then filter this by the score and be able to say, you know, top 1, 2, 3 based on scores, and, you know, give them trophies or whatever you'd like. And then, like I said, that first place person, you'll want to check the advanced students to next level. Or if you have 2 that you can check 2 boxes. It's however many when you set up the test initially, however many need to move on to the next level. Okay, but our very last thing for the day, let's say that you have 2 people. So what if Spencer and Parker here both had the highest score, but you can only send 1 on to the next level? So we had a lot of great questions from you about tiebreakers, and we do have a recommended way of breaking a tie. So whether you're doing an in-person event, a virtual event, using the online testing platform, all sponsors have access to the district pronouncer guide, and that is in PDF format. So if you find yourself in a tiebreaker situation, we suggest that you hold an informal virtual spell down using that district pronouncer guide. So you can get that resource from your sponsor. And basically what you want to do, this doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to invite a lot of people besides your pronouncer, at least 1 judge, likely yourself, and the 2 spellers that are 2 or 3, however many that you need to break the tie. So you're going to want to have your pronouncer use words 301 to 400, however many you end up needing to break that tie, in the district pronouncer guide, just doing a spell down. And I also want to let you know that if your pronouncer should want to prepare for a tiebreaker or an in-person event, remember that they don't need to do anything if you're using the online testing platform. We have your audio pronunciations covered. But should they want to prepare to use that district pronouncer guide in a tiebreaker or some kind of in-person event, we do have all audio pronunciations of the words in the district pronouncer guide, and your sponsor can grant you access to that resource should you need it. Okay, I just want to say one thing about tiebreakers. The one thing that we do not recommend for breaking ties is to set up another online test at the same level. So for instance, this was a district test. We do not recommend that you set up another district test between 2 kids to break the tie. That's simply because if you were to do that, some of the same words would likely be included on that test, and you'd probably just end in a tie again. So that's why, hopefully to keep you from ending in ties, we do encourage you to include vocabulary on your tests, to set up a time limit for how long students have to take your test, and to use unstudied words. So those are going to be the best ways for you to differentiate your scores and hopefully not have to end in a tiebreaker. So we've covered a lot, and I know that you all have questions. I know that our amazing customer service team has been answering your questions furiously throughout how long I've been speaking at you. So I think we can turn it back to Nicole and see about kicking off our Q&A.
Thank you for that great overview, Tyler. Very, very helpful. I know our team has been answering questions behind the scenes. I think we have quite a few that we'll also try to tackle here live for you. I'm going to kick it off with one. So I just want to provide a little explanation of our program overview. I think, we're so close to this and we use terms that might not be familiar to our audience. So I'm going to break down what sponsors mean to us in the various levels of competition that may be happening in an area. Everything starts at the school level. So when we open a program cycle, our schools visit our website, they enroll, and when they complete that enrollment process through spellingbee.com, based on their zip code, they are assigned to a program, which we consider the local sponsoring organization program that would be in that area. So I believe I saw Susan McDougall on here from Alabama. I'm going to pick on her because she runs a great program for the state of Alabama. She would be considered one of our sponsoring organizations with the Alabama Kiwanis Foundation running a bee program for that area. They have multiple levels of competition that take place. So after school level bees, they progress to what we would consider an intermediary level of competition. So that would be for either a district or county level. Most of our audience today is district and county level coordinators. You then advance your spellers to, or your winners to our sponsor level of competition or regional level. The words are kind of interchangeable here, but that is the quick and simple breakdown. And if you are on this call today, it is because you do have a sponsoring organization supporting that bee program structure in your community.
Thanks, Nicole. Okay, I think we're going to start, and we're going to start with a few of the questions that were asked prior to the webinar. So thanks again for anyone who sent me questions. We appreciate it. And this says, how do parents register? Do they need a new registration for the district level? And that is a great question. Let me actually really quickly go back to sharing my screen. And I will show you how parents can register, which kind of goes back to why you should not register this way. So parents can register by going to online-test.spellingbee.com and clicking this register button. As Nicole was just saying about how the rest of our program works, what they would do is they would put in their zip code, and then they would see all of the schools that are enrolled in the Scripps National Spelling Bee program for this school year, and they would click one, and then it would allow them to add their email address and information about their student. Like we were saying at the beginning with school champion registration, parents do not need to register separately if they're doing a school bee and then the district level decides to do a bee through the online test, the online testing platform. Like we were saying, that school champion registration, as long as the teacher, the school bee coordinator, makes sure that the name and grade and email address of the student match what is in their online testing platform account, it's going to recognize that that school champion is part of this local program, and it's going to automatically link those two things. So there's no need for anyone to there's no need for a parent to register twice. They just need to register the one time, and then they can use that same account for their school online tests and any district, county, final local bee online tests as well. Excuse me. Okay, let's see. If a student has technical issues, what is the best protocol? Can the student pick up where they left off on the test? That's a great question. We all know that, with things like this, I should knock on wood, there are always Wi-Fi outages. You never know what's going to happen. So yes, if your student has any kind of technical outage, like an internet failure, what they can do is, power down their device, boot it back up, and log back into the online testing platform. And they will be able to continue taking that test from where they stopped it. And if there's a time limit, that also will not have run out. It will have stopped when the power outage or Wi-Fi interruption, whatever, took place. So they can jump back into their test. Okay. Do parents need to register the student for the school bee, or can a teacher register them if the online bee will be held during the day and the teacher will be proctoring? That's a great question. So we recommend that parents do register their students. And what we suggest is that you give them a date by which they should be registered for the platform. There is in the teacher portal, in the same way that there are communication templates for you and for sponsors to use, there is also similar templates for schools to use. And there is one that they can use for helping parents create an account. Basically, we do suggest that parents create the accounts, but then they provide teachers with the login information or make sure that their students have the login information. And additionally, we just want to be sure that everyone knows that you should not create an account for your student if the parents have explicitly stated that they don't want them having an account through an online portal like our online testing platform. So, okay, let's see. Now that we've created the online test, how do we push it out to the campus coordinators and students? So that's great. Like we said on the webinar, it is first through school champion registration. So first thing is making that connection between the school level and the sponsor level or the district county level. And then it's just a case of creating your test, using that add spellers button and adding the correct spellers. And like I said before, when we were talking about communication templates, once you add a speller, they will get an automatic email to that parent telling them the test window that they need to, that they have for completing their test and any other instructions for completing their test. So there's nothing else that you need to do besides create the test and then add the spellers to the test. What's the difference between a spelling word and a vocabulary word? So like I said, for spelling words, you have two different options. There's either type in the word. So basically how that works is a student will have the audio pronunciation and all of the word information. So the part of speech, the definition, and like I said, the audio pronunciation. And then they'll have a box where they can type in the word based on what they hear and what they read from the word information. You also have multiple choice available for spelling words. So that would be the audio pronunciation, the word information, and then it would also give a selection of different misspellings. And then of course the correct spelling for the word. And then with vocabulary words, it's a little different. So you have you have the word and the pronunciation, and then you have different definitions. So you have some that are incorrect and then one definition that is the correct definition. And the student would then, try to pick the correct definition. So a little different between spelling and vocabulary, and then different if you choose type in the word or multiple choice for your spelling. Let's see, will all students in my county be given the same words? That's a great question. When you set up your test and you create your county test and then you add all of your students to that one test, yes, all of the students that are assigned to one test will get all of the same spelling or vocabulary words in the same order. That is not the case if you do, for instance, if you put together 5 different county tests, perhaps you have 5 different counties, and then you add, spellers to all those different counties. It's not necessarily the case that a student in one county assigned to one test would have the same words from a student in another county assigned to another county test, if that makes sense. So.
It looks like we're getting a lot of questions about the recording of this session. So it will be available. We plan to send out a recording, a link of this webinar session next week with the email that you registered for this evening. We will push out a link sometime next week, and you can also reach out to us if you do not see that come through, and we'd be happy to share that with you as well.
Yes, great question. All right. Does the student see a timer on the test if it is a timed test? Yes. So first of all, before the student even begins to take the test, they will see sort of the breakdown. So whether it's spelling and vocabulary, and then if it is timed, it will also tell them you have 30 minutes, you have 20 minutes, however long to take the test. And then yes, once they begin the test in a corner of the screen, they will see a pretty large counter that will continue to count down all the way to 0 while they're taking the test. Is there a sample test of what the test looks like from the student view? So yes, and you saw the button on the test list for the coordinator view, but then there's also the same button for parents before their students take the actual test, they can take a practice test, a sample test. To get them kind of used to the format and maybe get some of those jitters out during the sample test before they take the real one. Can we require the kids to take the test while being on a Zoom link to ensure they're not having outside help? Yeah, I think that is just based on your personal preference. So we do, as part of our 3-pronged integrity approach, we do talk about including a time limit, the integrity pledge, and then test proctor. So if you can't have someone physically in the room with your students, Zoom is a great way to be able to log in with either you and one student or even you and multiple students, and then they can take the test and you can watch them. And so, yeah, if that's the best way for you to do that test proctoring, then Zoom is a great option for that. Okay, if students took their classroom and school spelling bee face-to-face, but now the district bee is using the online platform, can we still add them to the district at the district level to the district spelling bee test? Yes, so that goes back to the very beginning of the webinar when we talked about school champion registration. So whether all of your schools do in person or some kind of Zoom spelling bee or use the online testing platform, if the sponsor or district or county, if any of those levels want to use the online testing platform, then the sponsor will set up school champion registration, which we showed you the teacher review of that earlier this evening. And every school champion will be registered through that platform, whether their school bee was done in person or Zoom or through the online testing platform. Every single school champion will need to be registered when a school bee coordinator logs in at spellingbee.com, so that it does not matter if they've used the online testing platform yet or not, that the online testing platform will talk to the school champion registration form, and it will either add spellers that already have online testing platform accounts, or it will automatically send emails prompting parents to create online testing platform accounts. So it does not matter. Do parents receive an email notification immediately after we create the test? Can we designate when the notification will be sent? So they don't receive a notification when you create the test. They receive a notification when you add their speller to the test. So if you, for instance, don't have all of your spellers in yet, and so you don't want to let one parent know about the test before another one does or anything like that, excuse me, the best thing to do is to just not add spellers to that test until you're ready for the notification to be sent, because it will automatically go as soon as you click to add those spellers and they show up on your list. But you can just create the test and have it ready, and then whenever you're ready for the notifications to go out, you can add spellers. Now, I will say that we do encourage you to go ahead and create tests ahead of time and go ahead and click on that add spellers to take a look at the spellers that are on your list. The reason being is that when you click that add spellers button to take a look at your speller list, not necessarily to go ahead and add them, it will send those emails to any students who don't have online testing platform accounts, encouraging them to create online testing platform accounts. So some of you might be going into your speller lists if you've already played around in the online testing platform and noticed that perhaps you have a couple students, but not as many as you would expect to have, that is likely because those students did not have online testing platform accounts prior to, it probably just means that, as in the previous question, the school spelling bee took place either over Zoom or in person, so they don't have online testing platform accounts yet. But clicking on that add spellers button to see your list of spellers is what is going to prompt our system to send out emails encouraging parents to create online testing platform accounts. So if that, we can kind of go over that a little bit more if it's helpful, but hopefully that makes sense.
We have a question about the reason for the change to this online testing platform. It's really just an addition this year to our traditional B programs. So it is a result of the pandemic circumstances. A lot of our schools have had to pivot to virtual learning, and as a result, we wanted to make sure that we could continue to offer this B program opportunity to all of our schools and our counties and our sponsors. So we adapted to this test, which is now available as part of a qualification structure. This will not take away from the future of our spelling bees the way we know them. I know we're also eager to get back to in-person events, but we do intend to keep this option available moving forward for programs who like that as a means for determining school level or county level champions. We will still have this resource available moving forward with the hope that we can see our lovely spellers in person again soon.
Fingers crossed. Wouldn't that be nice? All right. We had another question come in. How does a student get the link to begin the test? How will spellers access the online testing platform when the test opens? So that is, it goes back to the email that will automatically be sent from the online testing platform when you add a student to your test. So when you add a student to your test, they get an email that that tells them they can log into the online testing platform on this date and the test will be available. Another email will be sent the day that the test opens, and that will also have a link to the online testing platform. And it looks very similar, the parent view of the online testing platform, to the view that I just showed you, but instead of test list, they will have the opportunity to click on their child's name, and then it'll have in the same way that the test list showed all the different tests, it'll show the test that is assigned to the student. So it all is done automatically through those emails. And then students can log into the online testing platform after their test is over, and the parent will be able to download a score report to show them what they got wrong, what they got right, how they can improve in the future. Okay, let's see.
Looks like we have a question about, are you going to jump into the difference between district, county, and final local bees? So we touched on this a little bit earlier. We have our bees that all start at the school level. Schools determine their champions, and in some areas they may advance to the district or county level of competition. Those words can be interchangeable. It essentially is an intermediary level of competition that's taking place after the school bee and before that final local spelling bee, which is the bee that determines a champion that advances to the national event. As far as how it's set up in the system, we consider school, district, county, and final. So with spelling bee competitions, of course, it becomes increasingly more difficult as you move along through that competition structure. And that is how we've distinguished between those various levels with the online testing platform options that are available to you.
All right, let's see. So we still have questions coming in about the difference between spelling and vocabulary. So just to sort of reiterate, spelling based on the test that you create, we went through how to create a test, and you had those two options. You can do type in the word spelling, or you can do multiple choice. So you can do either of those, and your students will choose based on the word information and the audio pronunciation that they'll be able to hear. And then vocabulary asks that they answer a question related to the definition of the word. So that is testing their vocabulary knowledge as opposed to their spelling. And of course, all of the vocabulary questions are multiple choice. And for studied words, the study words are the same, whether you choose a spelling or a vocabulary question. So you likely, your students to prepare for the school spelling bee, they use the school spelling bee study list, which includes words with all of their correct spellings and their definitions. So you can do either spelling or vocabulary that way. To study for a district, county, or final local B test, your students are going to want to study the 2021 Words of the Champion study list, which you can find more information about on our website. And your sponsors and your schools also have access to that study resource to provide to students. And so any of the studied words from your test will come from that Words of the Champions, which includes spelling and the definition, so the vocabulary piece as well. And then there will also, if you choose unstudied words, there will be words that are just from our study resource, Merriam-Webster Unabridged, and they won't be found on Words of the Champions. Okay, if we are having students attend a school and go to different rooms with proctors to take the online test at school, how long afterward can we get the results? So you can receive, the district or county level coordinator, receive results immediately. So as soon as a student has completed their test, they will show up in your speller list as saying complete, and you'll be able to see results and their score. So if you have all of your students taking the test at the same time, you'll be able to, as soon as all of the students are finished, know exactly who your champion is, who needs to move ahead, and you'll be able to get score reports for all of those students. And you can do that, anyone can do that, whether you have all of your students taking the test at the same time or not. You have access to their results as soon as they submit their test. It's just the parents won't have access to their students' results until your test window closes. And that's just for security, so that they can't, get their words and then potentially share them with a classmate. But you, the coordinator, have test results as soon as a student finishes a test.
Back to the topic of spelling and vocabulary. Essentially, the question is vocabulary required as part of the test? And the answer to that is no. You can have a spelling only test available to your students. You can have a vocabulary only test to your students. We wouldn't recommend that. I think, as Tyler touched on during her presentation, there's a lot of value to both the spelling and vocabulary component of the program. We do include both at the national event, obviously with a focus on spelling, but we would encourage you to use vocabulary as part of your spelling online testing platform. A combination definitely just helps to better prepare students, but you will have options when you go in to set up that test to select spelling only, vocab only, or both.
All right, let's see. I know that our customer service members are still answering a lot of your questions. Let's see. Can I download the audio version of Words to practice? I hope to host an in-person bee. That's a great question. So we recognize that not everyone is Dr. Bailey. And so we do actually this year have audio pronunciations that are available to our pronouncers at the district level for the district pronouncer guide. And then we will also, for later levels, have them for the final local bee lists. I would recommend reaching out to your sponsor, and they can give you access to that. And basically what it is it's just, we've had our pronouncers and our word experts record themselves saying every single word in the district pronouncer guide, and your pronouncer will be able to just find the word that they're looking for and click on it and hear the pronunciation. So that is available to sponsors, so they will be able to provide you with that access. There is not an issue with only having one day as start and end, correct? Let's see. So actually, for the last level, the final local B level, tests have to take place over one day. But I do believe that for either of the other two levels, you do have to use, if you want, you can do, the 14th and the 15th, but it does have to be two separate days that you choose for your start and your end date. That's really just to try to give you as much opportunity, your students as much opportunity as possible to take the test. But like I said, you, the coordinator, do have access to the results as soon as they come in. So for instance, if you wanted to give your test all on one day, you could, but it does require that you have one start day and one end day for a district or county test. But those could be right next to each other, like the 14th and the 15th. Let's see. Would parents not be able to access results until the next day? So if you'll remember at the bottom of the test creation screen, there was a little checkbox there that said show score upon submission. So if you check that, your parent will be able to see the score that their student got as soon as they finish the test. However, they will not be able to download a full score report with all of the spelling and vocabulary words and correct spellings and correct answers to any vocabulary questions until after your test date has ended. So if, our final day is the 14th and then your test closes that next day, the parent will be able to download the score report. Okay. Can you speak more about the modified rules for a spell down tiebreaker? Do we not need to use rules when there are two spellers remaining? So I'm not sure that we're talking about modified rules when it comes to a spell down tiebreaker. I think it's the same way that you would host an in-person event, or if you're doing it virtually, however you would do a spell down. And we do have our official rules are available in the teacher portal and also publicly at spellingbee.com. I think it's more that if you are using a tiebreaker for two spellers who took an online test, it's more that it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You just need to have a pronouncer, at least one judge, yourself and the spellers on screen, and you would probably just do a spell down where one of them spells and one of them spells, and you go back and forth until someone misspells. And so you definitely can use the rules. We encourage you to use the rules, just that it doesn't have to be, you don't have to invite a lot of people if you don't want to for a tiebreaker. It can be just for you and your officials and the two spellers.
And you can also use our word list to host that tiebreaker event. So at the school level, we would recommend the school level pronouncer guide. There's an additional words section, which is essentially an unstudied section. It's a little bit more challenging. Same thing with the district or county level. We have what we call the district pronouncer guide. I know many of your local sponsors will provide you with a copy of that through a PDF that they can email to you. And there is also an additional words section there where you could dig into those words that are a bit more challenging to have that spell down.
All right. Is it recommended for the final local B to have the testing date on a weekday or weekend? So we have, for our in-person events, we have preferred dates, and we do weekday and weekend because we know that it really just depends on your program and your area. The only thing that we require for the final local B online test is that it happens over one 24-hour period. So I would just say whatever you feel after speaking with either your teachers or your students' parents would be best for you, whether it's a weekday or a weekend. We don't really have a preference because it really just depends on your program and your students, and your area better than we do. So, okay, let's see. Wait and see just a minute if we have any more come in. Okay. So I had this question earlier in the earlier when we were preparing and people were sending in questions. Thanks again to all of you who did. The question coming in is, our sponsors asked for a winner and an alternate. The alternate only participates if the winner can't. Would you mark 2 to move forward, or just 1 and know the alternate if needed? So if you're talking, if you're looking at your test results page and looking for who you need to mark the checkbox to advance to the next level, I would say that you would just mark the 1 forward to advance to the next level, because the online testing platform will automatically take that and push that student forward so that they can be added to the next level test. And then I would just, work out some way with your sponsor so that you can provide them with the information for the alternate. And then should you need to then add the alternate, you certainly can at a later date. What you wouldn't want is to send both of them and then have both of them compete if they're not supposed to. So I would certainly, if you have an alternate, I would let your sponsor know, certainly in whether that's through email or however that works for your specific program. But you'll just want to move forward however many students are advancing to that next level. And in this case, if it's just 1, you just want to check for 1.
Okay, so we have been flying through a lot of information, lots of questions. We really so appreciate you taking time, at least here on the East Coast, your evening to join us this evening. This does conclude our time together tonight. As a reminder, next week we will send an email out providing this link to the webinar so that you can access a recording of today's session. And as always, feel free to reach out to us. We are available to help you support your area's journey with the B program. Again, we really, really appreciate you. And thanks again. Have a great night.